This is solving equations with fractions. In today's lesson, we're going to look at several examples where we will need to solve an equation, each of which will contain a fraction. Before we get to the examples, we're going to have a quick reminder of something that will be important. If I were to say that 2 apples cost 10 pence, one way of writing that down would be 2a for apples equals 10. 2 apples cost 10 pence. If I were then to multiply this side of the equation by 3, that would then give us 2a times 3, which is 6a, or 6 apples. Now, do 6 apples cost 10 pence if 2 apples cost 10 pence? The answer is no. In order for the equation to stay true, we must multiply the right hand side by 3 also. 3 times 10 is 30. If 2 apples cost 10 pence, then common sense tells you that 6 apples would cost 30 pence. In order for an equation to stay true, if you multiply one side by a given number, you must multiply the other side by the same number. Example number 1. We have y over 5 equals 1 over 3. In each of the following examples, and every time we're attempting to solve an equation with fractions, we have to follow these rules. The first step is remove any fractions that are attached to letters. Once we have done that, if there are any brackets, we should remove the brackets. And after that step, we simplify and finally solve the equation. So thinking back to the first step, remove any fractions that are attached to letters. Now, if we look at our equation, we have y over 5 here. That's y divided by 5, or 1/5 of y. In order to make the fraction disappear, we must multiply this fraction by 5. 5 times y over 5. If we think back to the reminder we did at the start, if we multiply one side of the equation by 5, in order for it to stay true, we must multiply the other side of the equation by 5 also. In this example, I'm going to include a line of working in green, which will not be required in any of the other examples thereafter. So 5 times y over 5 gives us 5y over 5, and that's equal to 5 times 1/3, which gives us 5 over 3. If we look at this side, we have 5y over 5, so we have a 5 on the top, which can be cancelled with the 5 on the bottom. That simply leaves us with y. So our next line can be written y equals 5 over 3. In further examples, we will omit this line. If you think about it, every time we multiply by 5, or if it were a 7 on the bottom, we would multiply by 7. all that happens simply is that the bottom part of the fraction disappears, leaving us with whatever's sitting on the top, in this case y. So we have y equals 5 over 3, and that's our final answer. Example number 2, we have m equals 7 over 3 brackets m plus 2. If we think back to our rules, our first step is to remove any fractions that are attached to letters. So on this side we have 7/3 times m plus 2. That's just the same as 7 brackets m plus 2 divided by 3. In order to remove the fraction, we must multiply both sides by 3. That gives us 3 times m on this side and 3 times on the right hand side. 3 times m gives us 3m, and on this side when we multiply by 3, all that happens is the bottom part of the fraction disappears. So we have 7m plus 2. So our first step was to remove any fractions that were attached to letters, and we have done that. If you think back, the next step was to remove any brackets. Now, this question looks much the same as the ones we did in our previous lesson. So all we have to do is remove the brackets on this side, simplify and solve for m. So first of all we have 3m, and that's equal to 7 times m, which is 7m, and 7 times 2, which is 14. Remembering back, letters to the left and numbers to the right, so looking along the line, the only thing that has to move is the 7m. First of all, writing down the things that are staying where they are, so 3m and 14. 7m means positive 7m. When it moves across the other side, that becomes minus 7m. So we have 3m minus 7m equals 14. 3m minus 7m is minus 4m. That's equal to 14. Minus 4m equals 14. So that means m is equal to 14 divided by minus 4. Now, what we have now is a top-heavy fraction, which can be changed into a mixed number. First of all, we have a positive 14 divided by negative 4. Positive divided by negative is going to give us a negative answer. Then we have 14 divided by 4. How many times does 4 go into 14? So the answer is 3 times. 3 4s make 12, which leaves us with 2 quarters. So m equals minus 3 and 2 quarters. Is that the final answer? Well, no, because the 2 quarters part can be simplified. M equals minus 3, and 2 quarters is the same as 1 half. Minus 3 and a half, and that's our final answer.